So I want to welcome each and every one of us to this powerful session for the Executive Wellness Leadership Program. This is actually supposed to be Unit 7. So we are going to be looking at conversation around choice to be self-governed in Unit 7, and later in Unit 8, I will be looking at the choice to collaborate, the choice of collaboration with other people, the choice to collaborate with other people. That's what we'll be looking at in Unit 8. And I want to believe that so far so good, the various sessions that we've had together has been very, very impactful. Personally for me, even though I developed the entire program, but it was as if I had a renewed knowledge. In fact, there were certain things that were coming up that they sounded new to me, and I believe we are also learning, taking notes, and then ready to implement what we are learning into our life. Today's lesson is not going to be any different. It's going to be very engaging, very challenging, and very down to earth. And I trust that after taking today's lesson, none of us will want to live our life carelessly again. We will want to engage it in a productive way to a level that it will deliver the required positive results that we desire in our life. So, like I said, Unit 7 is about your choice to be self-governed. You see, when we talk about self-government, the reason why it is called self-government is because nobody has to do it for you. You cannot expect the political system or the society or the community to effect these changes in your life. It is your responsibility. You have to, take responsibility for yourself. And that choice has to be made by you. Nobody, you cannot delegate it. You cannot seed it out to somebody else to do it on your behalf. You just have to take that personal responsibility. Now, Ellen G. White made a statement, and I'd like to quote it. She said, "The most difficult sermon to preach and the hardest to practice is self-denial." Now, I'm a preacher, I'm a pastor, I'm a preacher, I'm a pastor, and I can tell you authoritatively that Ellen G. White is absolutely correct. It is very easy to tell people to do certain things. It is very, very, sometimes it even sounds very elegant to tell people to do certain things. But when it comes to you doing the same thing you are telling people to do, it is most difficult. And that is where discipline comes in. It is easy to lead other people, but believe me honestly, it is much more difficult to lead yourself than to lead people. And if you can succeed in leading yourself, I can tell you, you are ready for a glorious life. So it is always very difficult to preach about self-denial. It is easier to tell people to deny themselves, to be disciplined, to be this, to be that. But for you to be the practitioner of that which you are telling others to do is much more difficult. And I believe I'm speaking to somebody and you can really relate with what I'm saying. Now, let's go ahead and ask ourselves, what does it mean to be self-governed? Now, to make your burden light, I simply like to let you know that when we are talking about self-government, always have at the back of your mind that it has no other meaning other than self-discipline. So I don't want you to begin to crack your head. What is this? Another catchy phrase of self-government. What we are saying is self-discipline. So you don't have to worry yourself about the language. So we're talking about self-discipline. So that you don't throw yourself out of the conversation we are having. So what does it mean to be self-governed? Does somebody wants to set the ball rolling? What does it mean to be self-governed? The floor
Good
is...
afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead, Adenika.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes. So, sir, in my own reasoning, I believe that to be self-governed is to place certain restraints on oneself, to constrain oneself from going beyond a limit at a particular point in time.
Wow.
That's what I believe, to put discipline on oneself. To be, yes, I think that's the word.
Wow.
That's
there are a couple of words you use to put limits, to put a kind of restraint, so that you don't go beyond the limits that has been set for you.
Yes.
It will be something that you have set for yourself.
Yes.
Thank you very
much.
Yeah. So who else? Does anybody have another thought that is different or that can complement what Adenika has said?
Okay, so in addition to what she said, being self-governed means that you are having control over your own appearance.
Wow, that's another
powerful. Every decision you make, you are in control of it.
Yeah.
You are the one in charge.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
Yeah, another word that that is also coming up apart from restraint and having to go beyond your limit is control, ability to self-regulate yourself. If I might also want to use that word, to self-regulate yourself so that things don't go crazy out of the required proportion. Thank you very much. Any other thoughts before we go to our conversation summary? Now, in our wisdom quotes, which I usually love to say before we even start the conversation, it says, we fought hard. That is Geraldine Ferraro. He said, we fought hard, we gave it our best, we did what was right, and we made a difference. That is exactly what self-discipline does, or self-government does. It helps you to give your best at all time. And is in giving your best is a fight, is a lot of input. You have to put in a lot of energy. And when you do that, and you do what is right, you are bound to make a difference. You are bound to make a difference. Our conversation summary. Self-government is the same thing as self-discipline. It is hard to preach and practice because it is a virtue that requires daily uncompromising choice to experience the best result in life. And watch this. Any fool can get to the top, but it takes discipline to remain at the top. Do you know that it's more difficult to keep being successful than to become successful? And that is where discipline comes in. So, and here is our leadership mindfulness thought. You can never reach your goals in life if you are not disciplined. Discipline must be observed in every facet of life. That is why it is your personal responsibility and cannot be ceded to anyone else. Now, what specific actions do I need to take to be self-governed? What are the things you need to put in place? What should you do? Now, our wisdom quote from George Sand says, there is just one virtue, not one, not two, not three, not four, just one virtue. And the virtue is the eternal sacrifice of self. So what are the specific actions that you need to take to be self-governed? What are the specific actions that a man or a woman needs to take to be self-governed? Toby is saying, okay, go ahead.
Okay, good evening. My chat was for the answer to the first question, like keeping ourselves, because Aduke and Nifemi had actually said, they've said my mind. So I only added that. Okay. We should keep check. So to answer this question now, I think I will take us back to a little bit of government. For those of us that studied government while in alma mater and all, we know to govern means to rule. So now, if we want to be if we want to rule our life by ourselves, there must be some slated rules and regulations. We must have a purpose, and it must be highlighted. Like we should put it out, and just tick we keep checking our boxes. If we have to leave, the actions we need to do is, one, understand our purpose. Secondly, we should know or probably plan or probably check. It's just like you want to venture into something, you do some visibility studies. So that translated to life now, you have to be able to say, okay, what is my purpose? What do I want to achieve? What do I stand to achieve? Now I am the president of myself. How do I make my rules and regulations to be my favor in order for me to achieve my purpose? So I think the first action to take is getting to defining your purpose. You define your purpose, then you highlight steps, which is taking us back to the actions, the specific actions to do. And for me, as a person, I think is to first define my purpose, and then subsequently other things will fall in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you are absolutely right. For you to even enjoy the benefit of self-discipline, you need to know what your goals are. What are your objectives? Because if you don't have a goal, if you don't have objectives, if you don't have a purpose that you are pursuing, it is very, very difficult. You see, self-discipline doesn't really work without purpose. Just to say this right from onset, it doesn't work without purpose, because it is that purpose that keeps you motivated to remain disciplined. If you don't have anything, if there is nothing at stakes, discipline doesn't work. Discipline needs to have something to look towards. It always needs something to keep in view for it to be effective and for it to remain an agenda for our life to continue to pursue. So thank you very much for that powerful insight. Do we have any addition, or somebody wants to add to what has already been said before we move to our conversation summary? Does anybody have something to say? You can just put it on the chat if that works for you. Maya, are you saying something?
I think not for now, sir. Not for now.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
All right, thank you. So our conversation summary says the specific actions you need to take to be disciplined. Number one, you need to be determined and purposeful in your heart, just like Toby said earlier on. Then you need to work with people that will improve your life. You can't afford to work with people that are not going anywhere, people that has nothing to offer you. You have to work with the right people. Remember, birds of the same feather flocks together, and he who walks with the wise shall also be wise, but a companion of fool shall be destroyed. So you want to work with people that will make you better. Don't always work with people that you are better than. Always work with people that are smarter than you. That is one of my secrets in life. All of my friends, I mean all of my friends, they are people that are smarter than me. I don't have people that are not smart as my friend. In fact, if you see all my friends, you will know that they are very smart. I don't have people who are not thinking, who don't have better things to think about in life than me. So I always love to have people I'm looking towards, people who keeps challenging me, people who keeps putting me on my toes. I always love to look up towards them so that I can keep pushing towards life. Then also, you need to limit the time you spend on phone. You know, just like we said, it's very easy to say, but it's one of the most difficult things to do. You have to limit the time you spend on phone, the time you spend on social media, the time you spend on TV programs, the time you spend watching sports games, and etc. You know, these are the things that really steals time. And I remember some years ago, several years ago, I was just reading through one of these Nigerian newspaper. I can't tell whether it is, I can't tell which of the newspaper now. So I was just looking at the DSTV. I don't know if they still have DSTV in Nigeria now. I was just looking at the advertisement of DSTV, and they were proud to say that every year they show over 2,000 football matches. Every year. I didn't say in their lifetime, in all the lives that the company has existed. Just in 1 year, they broadcast about 2,000 of that thing. Quick! They said not that they broadcast the 2,000 football matches throughout the lifespan of the company, but in a single year they broadcast 2,000 matches. And I'm a lover of football, and I now began to wonder. And I know that if you want to watch a football match, at least that's about 2 hours, including the time to use for recess and all that. That's 2 hours. If you are watching a football match, just make sure that 2 hours is gone. And if you multiply 2 hours times 2,000, I said in a year, for a young man, they have destroyed people's lives. And that was the day I made up my mind that I would never be brought under the influence of always watching football matches endlessly without control. I still watch football once, maybe I watch 1 or 2 times in a year or a few times in a year, but I don't think in a year, I don't think I sit down to watch up to 20 football matches. I don't think so, because I don't even have the time anymore, even though I still follow soccer as much as I can. So that is where discipline comes in. And these are the area you need to really express the discipline, the self-government we're talking about. Ability to restrain yourself from watching 2,000 football matches in a year, not in a lifetime, in a year. You need a great self-discipline to be able to achieve that. And then you want to eat healthy, you want to exercise your body regularly. That is another big elephant in the room. Exercising is easier said than done. And you can even start it today, and before the week runs out, you have resigned from doing it. And these are the things we need to keep in view. These are the things we need to keep doing. These are the things we need to keep practicing if we must move to the next phase of our life. Then our leadership, then the last one is we need to receive empowerment from the G factor. Now, I usually love to say G factor just to make it a little, to make it sound a little classy and elegant. But what I really mean by the G factor is the God factor. There is nothing you can do without the empowerment of God. So to even be self-disciplined, to even be able to control yourself, you need an enablement from God to be able to do it. And that is why the G factor is coming in. You need to receive empowerment from the G factor to be able to do it. You cannot do it in your own strength. And our leadership mindfulness thought says, have you wondered why wages and salaries are paid hourly? For example, those of us in the US, we are paid per hour. So every hour you are out of work, you are missing money. So that is why in America, time is money. Even though countries that have their wages based on salary, it's still you can still say it's tied to a time. It's either they pay it monthly or they pay it weekly. So you can still see that it's still tied to a time. That is why people are paid hourly, weekly, or monthly. The simple reason is that work done is measured and rewarded in commensurate with time invested on the job. So that is why your time is very, very important. And you need discipline to make a good use of your time. So why do I need to be self-governed? Why do I need to be self-governed? Now, Winston Churchill, he was once the Prime Minister of United Kingdom. In fact, it was the Prime Minister when this guy, Adolf Hitler, wanted to take over the whole world. And he had to use his influence and his political power to be able to stop Hitler from invading their country at that time. And this is what it says in our wisdom quotes. It said, difficulties mastered are opportunities won. Difficulties mastered are opportunity won. Difficulties mastered are opportunity one. So let's engage with this conversation. Why do I need to be self-governed?
All right, sir.
You go out and drop that thing.
Okay. To be self-governed, sir, the reason why you need to be self-governed is to grow. If you are not, if I'm taking a particular course or a class, if I'm not serious with it, if I'm not disciplined enough to take that class, I won't be serious with it. So it is not until when someone outside, or probably my parents, my teachers, come to tell me that, oh, you need to do this, before I know that, oh, I need to do this thing. So for me to grow, I need to be self-governed, because that's the only thing that can help me.
Exactly.
We don't need, it is not all the time that we need other people's validation to work for ourselves. You also need yourself. You also need to be self-governed. You need to sit down and think about it. What is my real purpose? So when you discover your purpose in life, before you know that, oh, this is where I'm actually going. Not everybody's way is my way. I need to find my own way and be serious with it. So it is not all the time that we need other people's validation or other people's training. We also need our own self-development to grow.
Do you know what you've just said now reminded me of what one of the great quotes of Socrates. He said, examine thyself. We need to examine ourselves. And in examining ourselves, what it means is that we have to take initiative to be able to do that. And when we don't examine ourselves, Socrates also says, the life is not worth living. A life without examination, without a life that you don't examine, that you don't take time to evaluate, is not worth living. And I think Paul the Apostle also said something similar. He said, examine yourself to know whether you are still in the faith. He said, know you not yourself. So everybody has to always we always have to look inward and then look at our life very deeply, and then be able to assess ourselves and then decide if we are really doing what we are supposed to do with our life. So do we have somebody else contributing something to what has been said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Adenike.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, so the question here says, why do I need to be self-governed? Do I need to be self-governed? I believe that before Socrates could ask himself that kind of question, it was because he needed to make some sort of progress.
Yeah.
Maybe he had been doing things in a particular way, and he wasn't really seeing the results he needed to, he desired to see. So that's why he had to ask himself that kind of question. That is a
life
an
that's
unexamined life is not worth
living. Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is that I need to be self-governed so that I can make rapid progress in life, honestly.
Yeah.
For me to make rapid progress in life, I must put a blow to every department that is hindering me. Like I think Paul also said that you need to put a blow to your body. So I must put a blow to every department that is hindering me. I must put limit. I must set controls. I must set certain restraints on things so that I can be able to move forward. Is it that I need to I need to discipline my sleep? You know, is it that I need to discipline my time? Is it that I need to discipline my eating? Do you understand, sir? Is it that there are so many things to discipline, sir, to be able to make rapid progress in life? So for me, I would say that for me to make progress in the pursuit of my purpose, let me put it that way, discipline must be put in place. I must be self-governed. Otherwise, there will be no show. We are not going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have was it Toby who wanted to say something?
Yes, it was me. Adenike have actually said a piece of what I actually wanted to say. But to me, the question is a little bit inward, because it varies from individuals to individuals. Because I don't know. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we all have different purpose in life. We all have what we want to, and we have different approach to being self-governed. But generally speaking, self-governance is, is like a tool that keeps us away from the edge. Like, instead of you falling from a cliff, if you are self-governed, you'll be able to control yourself. You'll be able to control your habits. You develop habits. You develop your behavior that eliminates, how will I put it? It eliminates the need to use massive amounts. I don't know how to put it. I'm trying to remember the word. There is this book I was reading. It's Ben Carson's book. I'm trying to remember the word he used. This self-control, self-government itself, it's the same thing, because you need to control yourself to do things that even naturally you would have, anybody could have said just do it, but you do it, it's not going to give you the result it's giving on that, because what works for A might not work for B in the aspect of self-governance. So to just summarize my own points to this, the reason why I need to be self-governed is for me to be able to form a pattern for me to achieve the purpose I've slated, or I've actually enlisted myself to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've said so much, but the most important thing is that you emphasize the fact that the application of self-government varies from individuals to individual, and that it is you who has to determine the extent of that self-discipline, or self-regulation, or self-control, or self-restraint that you want to put on yourself. So just like we've been saying, not the government, not your parents, not your mentors are going to have any role to play in putting this self-regulation on you. You just have to sit down and assess and analyze the situation and say, this is what I am going to sacrifice to be able to get to this desired destination that I have for myself. Thank you. So let's do our conversation summary. Now, the following are the reasons we need to be self-governed. Number one, you need to avoid falling into any random temptation. Temptation there doesn't have to mean sexual temptation. Temptation generally means challenges, anything that puts that stands as an obstacle towards the attainment of your goal is a temptation. So you need self-discipline to avoid falling into any random temptation that comes our way. Then we need discipline because of the knowledge of our preordained destination or preordained destiny of greatness. Just like Toby said earlier on, that for discipline to work well, we need to have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, discipline doesn't work well because you don't have anything you are aiming for. Another reason why you need to be self-governed is that to adequately prepare ourselves for societal change or neighborhood transformation. You see, the truth of the matter is the society needs you. Your community needs you. The people living in your neighborhood, they need you. And if you are not living a disciplined life, you can't offer any help. So if only for the sake of what the society needs you for, then you need to give yourself over to self-discipline. Another reason why you need to be self-disciplined is to always remember the G factor. I know by now you know what the G factor means, as the authentic source of our blessing or your blessing. So you need to always recognize and then appreciate that. And then I like to go over to the quote of Winston Churchill. Now think about it. When you master a difficulty, what do you think it will become to you later? It becomes an opportunity for progress. I remember many years ago when I started preaching. I preached my first public sermon in June 1998. That was when I preached my first public sermon, and there were about 150 or about 160 people in the service that day. And ever since that time, I've been preaching. And one of the things that people keep doing that helped me to develop my skill as a preacher was that whenever there is an occasion to do a little short exhortation or to, whenever there is an occasion to just share from the Word of God, people just keep ceding that responsibility to me. At that time, it was very difficult because I was just learning how to do it too. But people would rather push it to me than to accept that responsibility. And because I have a philosophy that the buck must always stop at my table. So when they push it to me, rather than pushing it to somebody else, I will just take the challenge and make the presentation, make the exhortation, present the homily, the address. And by that way, I kept building myself. Now, fast forward to nearly more than 20 years, or close to 25 years after now, I have become a completely transformed person. Now, what seems to be difficulty or challenges at that time has suddenly become something that now provides an opportunity for me. I've had an occasion to be invited to come and preach along with my wife, to come and preach for a congregation. And I was given so much, I won't tell you how much it is, but it's running into thousands of dollars. And, when that happened, I told my wife, I said, all my life when I was growing up, and when I was developing as a young preacher and as a young Christian, I invested so much on books. I will literally use my money for food to buy books. In fact, I was averaging 2 books. I was buying at least 2 books every month as a young undergraduate from my monthly allowance that my parents gives me. and I have a lot of books. Do you know that that single honorarium that I received from that preaching engagement could adequately cover for all the books I have ever bought in my life? Can you imagine that? So when you put yourself in a position to master certain difficulties, after a period of time, it doesn't become a problem to you. It doesn't become a challenge to you anymore. It becomes an opportunity. So what I'm saying to you is that when you see something, or when you find yourself trying to solve certain problems, don't always see the problems, but always see the opportunity that will come out of it at the end of the day. And that is why I believe Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, wrote, he said, for every adversity, there is an equivalent or a greater benefit. For every adversity. So don't always see problems as problems. Always see problems as opportunities in disguise. So, and here is our leadership mindfulness thoughts. If we are not living a self-governed life, we are losing opportunities in many fronts. But if we master ourselves and work to be in control of our lives, then we will gain a lot of opportunities. If we master ourselves and we gain a lot of opportunities, we will, if we master ourselves and then be in control of our life, then we will gain a lot of opportunities. Now, let's move to the next question. How do I gain mastery of self-government? How do I? Because it requires your ability to gain mastery over it. Because just like we've been saying, if you don't really know how to master this art, you will discover that all your life you will just be struggling. So how do I gain mastery of this art that is called self-government? How do I master it? Now, our wisdom quote says, from Anna Moore, says, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take off your eyes off the goal. Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. Anna Moore. Now let's engage with our conversation using our wisdom quote as our foundation. So how do I gain mastery in self-government? How do I gain mastery in self-government? You can utilize the chat if you want to. And
yeah, good evening. Yeah.
Talk to us. Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, I think for me, I will go. The number one thing is the G factor.
Yeah, the G factor.
Because he said in prayer and supplications, in prayer was what the scripture says. So you want to govern yourself well. There is nothing any mortal human being can do by themselves alone without the immortal presence. So God has a say on anything we do. We might be thinking, I'm doing this thing right, whereas we are getting it all wrong. So with God, with the Holy Spirit being your guidance, you'll be able to gain mastery to self-government. So that's just the point.
Yeah, thank you very much. Toby has identified the G factor as one important factor to be aware of for you to be a master in the pursuit of self-government. The G factor.
Can I continue? to start that, sir. Good evening,
Yeah,
sir.
go ahead. Good evening, Maiwa.
Yes, sir. Okay, the first speaker has actually said right well by use of Holy Spirit. So another one I want to just put on the word. The word is very important, and then also reading. I believe so much in reading. Like there's a lot of things that have passed over time that has been put into writing that some people has actually took their time to write. So when you read them, it gives us some enlightenment. I do call them lights. I have understanding about it.
Yeah.
You cannot discover. Maybe okay, let's say they hide something under a chair. Number one, if you don't know that that thing is under a chair, if you don't know the mystery of finding it, you can know that it's under the chair, but you might not know the mystery of finding it.
Thank you. So,
and there are some things, those things that actually have been documented. Even if the Holy Spirit, even if Holy Spirit told you, you still need to read. You still need to have the wisdom. Sometimes, most of what Holy Spirit tell us is not like actually accommodate through time. So that's when it's going to bring to our remembrance. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe what Mayowa is saying is that as much as experience is very
Sorry,
good,
sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, to buttress what Mayowa said just now, I think to me, I will just add a little bit to what he's saying. We should be willing to learn, to relearn and unlearn if we want to if we want to have a mastery to self-governance. That was what Mayowa was trying to say. We might think we know something.
You're frozen. We can't hear you again. Okay. So just
hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You were frozen earlier on.
Yes, I said there are people that have gone through the process and they have been able to put it down in writing for us in books, even on podcasts, in tapes and all. So we should be willing to unlearn the things we know that we think is the right thing to do. Whereas people that have proven it to be untrue, we should be able to master all these things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, just to corroborate what Mayowa and Tobias said, in as much as I value experience, as experience is very good, but it's also important for us to know that experience can also be very costly. In fact, it can even cost you your life if care is not taken. But some things that you could have learned through experience can cheaply be learned. Can cheaply be learned when you pay attention to what other people have written, because they have had that experience and you don't have to go through that route. So all you just need to do is just to subject yourself, or in the modern word we use now, just subscribe yourself to what they have put down, and then you achieve the same result. You don't have to go through the same experience to have the similar results. Thank you for those powerful nuggets. Do we have any addition before we go to our conversation summary? How do I gain mastery in self-government? Yeah, Nifemi, go ahead.
In addition to what they said, after the God factor, after the reading thing, earlier on you said that our way is not the same. You know that. So personally, for me, you know that self-development, self-government is something personal. I feel like for each person, know what you want to do for yourself. Make sure that you are doing a step-by-step progress. You cannot just rush it. yes, once you govern yourself, there's a purpose, there's something you want to achieve. That's why you are governing yourself. That's why you are working towards self-development. But first of all, you can write it down. Write down that thing that you want to achieve, that you know you want to take control of. Once you write them down, then you take it step by step. By that, in fact, you'll be a master in whatever you are doing.
Thank
You won't be waved by whatever your friends or anyone else is doing. You know that you are focused on your own thing. So you'll be a master to your own self-development, self-government. So you cool stuff.
Thank you very much.
All these things is in addition with the G factor stuff.
Thank you. Now, just to add to what Nifemi said, there is the role of writing your vision down cannot be overemphasized. If you go to Habakkuk, it was clearly stated, write the vision and make it plain upon the table. You can't say, I already know it in my head. Hey, we forget things. Even certain things, you'll be even surprised that sometimes a friend that you have been friends for many years, all of a sudden you might just forget to remember his name. I don't know if it has happened to you before. You just forget the name. That is to tell you that our brain sometimes cannot that be trusted. So you have to learn how to put information down so that you constantly keep it in view of yourself. And another thing I also want to say is that, you know, the essence of this executive wellness leadership program is to help people out there to avoid the temptation of thinking, hey, people around me don't care for me. I am all by myself, just like Elijah was crying to God. Everybody has deserted you. I am the only prophet. And you know, he began to see himself. He doesn't even pay attention to what's going on in his environment. So the essence of self-government is when you understand this principle, it helps you to know how to handle certain situations that can bring depression into your life. I also believe that one of the reasons people get depressed sometimes is because they've lost the anchor over self-government. They can't put themselves in control. They cannot regulate their life the way it should be. And that is why they go into depression sometimes. So, and I believe that is also important. So to gain mastery in self-government, our conversation summary says, number one, you must do the following. Number one, you must learn how to practice resistance. You have to learn how to do that. You have to resist evil. You have to resist what is not right. You have to learn how to practice resistance. You also need to be focused and be prayerful. Just like many of us have said, you will have to remember the G factor. Then number three, you must learn how to become a living sacrifice every day. You see, discipline is not something you do this month and then you go your own way the next month. Every day you wake up, you have to wake up as a disciplined person. You have to be disciplined every moment, because an unguarded moment like this can just throw you off balance. So discipline is not something you do once we talk about it like this. You have to do it every day. So you have to make yourself a living sacrifice. That is practicing it every day. And number five, when you do all this, The consequences are that you will see progress and success and breakthrough. Our leadership mindfulness thoughts. When you don't know how to discipline yourself, you will soon begin to see challenges, difficulties, problems, obstacles everywhere you turn. But when you are disciplined, you will be focused on where you are going. Now, here is the final question. What are the benefits of being self-governed? What do we stand to gain when we practice self-government? What are the benefits? Let's talk about it as we look into our wisdom quote from G.W. Gardner. It says, one exemplary act may affect one life or even millions of lives. All those who set standards for themselves, who strengthen the bonds of community, who do their work creditably and accept individual responsibility, are building the common future. So what are the benefits of being self-governed? What are the benefits? Yeah, the choice.
Yeah, to me, if we are self-governed, one, you'll be principled, which adds to the way at which you do things. That's one. And secondly, some of the other benefits of being self-governed is you'll be able to set your eyes on, it will make you focus on your goal, and you'll be a living wonder. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any additional contribution?
Okay, I was going to say, okay, let me just say what I wanted to say earlier. And when you are self-governed, there is no way you will stand out. You be a role model for others to follow, for others to emulate. That is all the restraint you have, placed on yourself. It will make you an attraction to your words, such that others will come to you. They will ask you, how did you do it? So that they too can do the same, and attain greater heights in life. I think there's the Bible scripture that says that God will so much make us an attraction that as a Jew, that 10 men out of the nations will come to you, holding your skirt, saying, we'll go with you because we have seen that the Lord is with you. So that is what self-governance does. And when you are a child of God, basically the whole Bible, that's what it's teaching you. If you read the book of Proverbs, it will teach you how to be well behaved. So I think basically that's what it does.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more thoughts before I go to our conversation summary, which is basically pinpointing on some of the points we have raised? Now, our conversation summary says there are tons of rewards attached to being self-governed. Some of such rewards are: you will partake in the fullness of your blessings. Number two, you will be able to perpetuate your legacy. Number three, your progress will be assured. This sounds like some of the points we are saying or we have said. Number four, you will become a reference point. People will now begin to point to you as an example. Your life become something that people can reference when it comes to deciding for their own future. Then number five, no temptation will be too great for you to conquer. So these are the 5 benefits that we stand to gain when we embrace self-government. And here is our leadership mindfulness thoughts. The 3-point internal benefits of being self-governed are: number 1, freedom. When you demonstrate self-government, ironically, what you are also looking for is freedom. You see, people think freedom is not having restrictions and boundary. That is not so. Freedom is having a set of boundary and then being able to exercise your liberty within those boundaries. Can you imagine in our world if there are no such rules as a man should have his own wife and a woman should have her own husband? Can you imagine if everybody is just sleeping around like the animals? Can you imagine how our world would have looked like that? That's just an example of why restriction or boundary helps us to exercise freedom. Or can you imagine if we have a lawless state that has no police, no government in place, everybody steals from anybody, whatever he likes? The environment, the society will be chaotic. So sometimes we need these rules to make order to reign in our life. A life without rules is a life without orderliness. So the tripod internal benefit of being self-governed is: number 1, you begin to exercise freedom from anger. You will not begin to feel irritated, and you not begin to feel angry against people and against yourself. Then it also prevents envy. When you exercise self-government, you have nothing, you have nobody to be envious about. You are just yourself. You are just expressing yourself the way you are, and you just love yourself the way you are. And it also prevents you from getting frustrated. You see, look at people that are frustrated in life. There is no discipline in their life. So one of the ways to avoid frustration in life is to accept to be self-disciplined. That's to accept to be self-governed. When you do that, you discover that life becomes meaningful and good to you. So we have come to the end of Unit 7. I believe it has been very enriching. So all I just want to say at this point is, do we have any question, any clarification you want me to make before we go to our Unit 8, which is the choice to collaborate with others? Do we have question? You have any question?
Not for now. For my own hand, Shao. I don't know.
Okay.